$43,000. That is the number printed on a white envelope pulled from a mailbox on a quiet Tuesday morning in suburban Ohio. A 67-year-old retired maintenance supervisor, a man who worked 38 years for his local school district, opened that envelope standing at the curb and his hands began to shake. The letter was from the Social Security Administration. It said he had been overpaid. It said he owed the federal government $43,000. It said that if he did not respond within 90 days, they would begin withholding 50% of his monthly Social Security check. Half his income. Gone. Starting next month. No warning, no negotiation, no mercy. He did nothing wrong. He never committed fraud. He never lied on a single form. But the government said he owed them tens of thousands of dollars and they were coming to collect. This is not a hypothetical scenario. This is not a scare tactic. This is happening right now in 2026 to seniors all across the United States, and today I am going to tell you exactly what is going on, why it is happening, and the 3 specific steps you must take immediately to protect every dollar of your Social Security benefit. Here is what you need to understand right now. If you are watching this video, you are already ahead of millions of retirees who have absolutely no idea what is coming. The Social Security Administration has changed its overpayment recovery rules, and the new policy is more aggressive than anything we have seen in years. But here is the good news. You have legal rights. You have protections written into federal law. And if you know exactly which forms to file and which deadlines to meet, you can shield yourself completely. I am going to walk you through all of it today, but I need you to stay with me until the end, because there is one hidden mistake that most seniors make when they receive this letter, and that single mistake is what causes them to lose half their check. I will reveal it to you shortly. Let me tell you a real story. A man in his late 60s, living in a small town in Ohio, worked nearly 4 decades as a maintenance supervisor at a local school district. He paid into Social Security his entire career. Every single paycheck he watched that deduction come out. He never complained because he knew it was building his retirement safety net. He retired at 65 and started collecting benefits. His monthly check was $2,014. Not a fortune, but enough to cover his mortgage, his groceries, his medications, and a little bit left over to take his grandkids out to dinner once a month. For 2 years, everything was fine. The checks arrived like clockwork. He felt secure. Then, one morning in April, he received a letter from Social Security. The letter stated that 2 years before he even retired, there had been an error in how his earnings were reported. Social Security had calculated his benefit amount using slightly incorrect wage data. The error was not his fault. He reported everything correctly. But somewhere in the automated system, a number was entered wrong. The result, according to the government, was that he had been overpaid by $218 every single month for 26 months. That adds up to $5,668. He panicked. He did not have $5,000 sitting in a savings account. He was living on a fixed income. Every dollar of his Social Security check was already spoken for. But here is where he made the fatal mistake. He was so overwhelmed by the letter that he put it aside. He told himself he would deal with it later. He thought maybe it was an error, and Social Security would sort it out on their own. He waited past 30 days. He waited past 60 days. He waited past 90 days. And then without any warning, his next Social Security deposit hit his bank account, and it was only $1,007, half of what he normally received. Social Security had begun automatic withholding at 50%. He could not pay his mortgage that month. He could not afford all his medications. He went into a financial spiral that took him 8 months to recover from. The tragedy is that if he had simply filed one form within 30 days of receiving that letter, Social Security would have been legally required to freeze all collection until his case was reviewed. He might have even gotten the entire overpayment waived completely because the error was not his fault. His story is not unique. It is happening to hundreds of thousands of seniors right now, and I do not want it to happen to you. Let me explain exactly what is happening with Social Security overpayments in 2026. An overpayment occurs when Social Security pays you more money than you were legally entitled to receive. This can happen for many reasons. Maybe your income changed, and you did not report it quickly enough. Maybe your marital status changed. Maybe you went back to work part-time and earned above a certain threshold. Or maybe Social Security itself made an error in calculating your benefit. According to the Social Security Administration's own Inspector General, the agency made approximately $71.8 billion in improper payments between fiscal years 2015 and 2022. Most of these were overpayments. That is billion with a B. And at the end of fiscal year 2023, there was still a $23 billion uncollected overpayment balance sitting on the books. Even though the overall error rate is less than 1% of total benefits paid, when you are the individual receiving that letter, the amount demanded from you personally can be enormous. We are talking $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, even $80,000 in some documented cases. These are not small billing errors. These are life-changing demands placed on people living on fixed incomes who in many cases did absolutely nothing wrong. Now let me give you the timeline of what changed, because this is critically important. In March of 2024, the previous administration capped the overpayment recovery rate at just 10% of your monthly benefit. That meant if you were overpaid, they would only take 10% of your check each month until the debt was repaid. That was manageable for most people. Then, on March 7, 2025, the Social Security Administration announced it would reinstate the policy of withholding 100% of benefits. Your entire check gone until the overpayment was recovered. The public outcry was immediate and enormous. Advocacy groups, members of Congress, and major organizations pushed back hard. On April 25, 2025, Social Security issued an emergency message reducing the withholding rate from 100% down to 50%. That is where we stand today in 2026. If you receive an overpayment notice and you take no action within approximately 90 days, Social Security will automatically begin withholding 50% of your monthly benefit. The average Social Security retirement benefit in 2026 is $2,071 per month. If 50% is withheld, you would receive only approximately $1,035. For millions of seniors, that is below what they need to pay rent, buy food, and cover their medications. Financial experts have called this devastating, and housing advocates warn it could push some seniors toward homelessness. I know what you are thinking right now. If Social Security made the mistake, why do you have to pay it back? Here is what the government's own data shows. The Inspector General found that most overpayments come from two sources. First, the agency relies on beneficiaries to self-report changes in their circumstances, and people sometimes make honest mistakes or do not understand the complex rules. Second, the agency's own automated and manual processes have what the Inspector General called insufficient controls. In other words, Social Security's own computers and staff make errors that result in people being overpaid. Research from the Urban Institute confirms that overpayments often result from people misunderstanding the rules, not intentionally violating them. You are not a criminal. You are not committing fraud. But the law still says you have to pay it back unless you take the proper steps to request a waiver. Section 204 of the Social Security Act requires the agency to recover overpayments. This is not optional for them. It is a legal mandate. However, that same law includes a critical protection. Section 204B states that recovery shall not occur if the person was not at fault, and recovery would either defeat the purpose of the Social Security Act or be against equity and good conscience. In plain English, if you did not cause the error and paying the money back would put you in financial hardship, you may be entitled to have the entire overpayment waived. Forgiven completely. You would owe nothing. But you have to ask for it. Social Security will not offer this to you voluntarily. You have to file the right form by the right deadline. That brings me to the 3 steps you absolutely must take if you receive one of these letters. The first step is the most critical thing I will tell you today. Do not ignore the letter. File within 30 days. The 90-day window is the deadline before automatic withholding begins. But if you file a waiver or appeal within the first 30 days, Social Security is legally prohibited from collecting a single penny from you until they make a decision on your request. That decision can take weeks or months. During that entire time, you receive your full benefit check untouched. The form you need is called the SSA 632BK, titled Request for Waiver of Overpayment Recovery. You can download it from the Social Security Administration website or call them at 1-800-772-1213 and ask for assistance completing it over the phone. They are required by their own policy to help you. On this form, you explain 2 things. First, that the overpayment was not your fault. Second, that paying it back would cause you financial hardship, meaning it would deprive you of money needed for basic living expenses like rent, food, utilities, and medications. If your overpayment is $2,000 or less, you may not even need to submit the full form, because Social Security has an administrative tolerance provision, allowing them to waive small overpayments with a simplified process. But I still recommend filing in writing to create a paper trail. The second step is critically important if you believe the amount is wrong. File an appeal. Maybe you received a letter saying you owe $30,000, but the math does not make sense. Maybe the dates are wrong. Maybe the income figures they used do not match your records. In that case, you need to challenge the overpayment determination itself. The form for this is the SSA 561 titled Request for Reconsideration. You must file this within 60 days of receiving your overpayment notice. On the form, explain specifically why you believe the overpayment amount is incorrect or why you believe you were not overpaid at all. Here is a detail most people miss. You can file a waiver and an appeal at the same time. They are not mutually exclusive, so if you think the amount is wrong and you believe you should not have to pay it back, regardless, file both the SSA 632BK and the SSA 561 together. This gives you maximum legal protection. When you file within 30 days, all collection activity stops until your case is decided. This is your right under the Code of Federal Regulations, Section 404-506C. The third step applies if you acknowledge the overpayment, but the 50% rate would devastate your finances. Negotiate a lower rate. File the Form SSA 634 titled Request for Change in Overpayment Recovery Rate. On this form, you list your monthly income, your monthly expenses, and you request a withholding rate you can actually afford. Maybe that is 10%, maybe that is 15%, maybe it is $25 a month. The point is, you have the legal right to negotiate. Social Security employees have significant discretion in setting repayment terms. The key is you must ask. If you do not ask, the 50% rate applies automatically. I also want you to know about the dedicated overpayment repayment phone line at 1-855-807-8807. If you are deaf or hard of hearing, the TTY number is 1-800-325-EU778. Due to recent staffing reductions at the agency, many offices only accept visitors by appointment, and phone wait times can stretch to several hours. This is why filing forms in writing and uploading them through your personal Social Security online account is often the fastest path. Let me summarize the deadlines because missing them can cost you thousands. Within 30 days of receiving your notice file, your waiver or appeal to freeze all collection. Within 60 days, file your formal reconsideration if you dispute the amount. If you do nothing for 90 days, 50% withholding begins automatically with no further warning. There is additional context that matters here. Social Security is not just sending these letters to people who were recently overpaid. In many cases, they are going back years, sometimes 5 years, sometimes 10 years or longer. They are using updated computer systems and data matching programs to identify overpayments that occurred long ago but were never detected. This means you could receive a letter tomorrow about an overpayment from 2018 or 2019 or earlier. The amount demanded could reflect years of accumulated monthly overpayments. This is why the numbers on these letters can be shockingly large. I want to address something else that causes tremendous confusion. Many seniors receive an overpayment notice and feel ashamed. They assume they must have done something wrong. They do not want to talk about it with family or friends. That shame causes them to freeze up and do nothing, which is the absolute worst response. Receiving an overpayment notice does not mean you did anything wrong. It does not mean you are being accused of fraud. It simply means the government's records show a discrepancy and they are legally required to attempt recovery. You have every right to challenge it. You have every right to request a waiver. And a significant percentage of waiver requests are approved when the beneficiary demonstrates they were not at fault and that repayment would cause hardship. The problem is, most people never file the waiver because they do not know it exists. If your waiver is denied, that is not the end of the road. You have the right to appeal to an administrative law judge. At that hearing, you can present evidence and make your case in person. Many people who are denied at the initial level win at the hearing level. You can appeal further to the Appeals Council and even to federal court. The protections exist because Congress recognized that demanding large sums from seniors on fixed incomes causes genuine suffering. The Social Security Administration has been under enormous pressure to reduce its overpayment balance. That $23 billion figure represents money the government considers owed to it, and there is intense political pressure to collect. Simultaneously, the agency has experienced significant staffing reductions. Fewer employees means fewer people processing claims, reviewing waivers, and answering phones. Cases that should resolve in weeks take months. This is exactly why being proactive is critical. You cannot wait for the system to work in your favor. You must push it by filing correct forms by correct deadlines and following up persistently. Keep copies of every form you submit. Note the date and time of every phone call. Get the name or identification number of every representative you speak with. If you mail anything, send it certified with return receipt. These steps create documented proof that protects you if there is ever a dispute about whether you responded in time. Your Social Security benefit is not a gift from the government. It is money you earned over a lifetime of work. Every paycheck, every deduction, every year of labor built that benefit dollar by dollar. Do not let anyone take it without a fight. If this video helped you understand something you did not know before, share it with someone you love. A spouse, a sibling, a parent, a neighbor. If they are collecting Social Security, they need this information today. You could be saving them from losing half their income. Stay informed, stay protected, and I will see you in the next one.